Ha ha! Recognize the senator from the 14th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that House Bill 681 be removed from the table.
Well, the secretary will read the caption.
House Bill number 681 by Representatives Yarda of the 152nd and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 2 of Article 6 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to competencies and core curriculum relative to quality basic education and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Education and Youth recommends that this bill do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Payne of the 54th District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Education and Youth offers the following substitute to House Bill number 681. To amend Article 6 of Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Quality Basic Education Act so as to provide for a mandatory course of instruction in financial literacy for students and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
The senator from the 14th District has moved that House Bill 681 be removed from the table. Is there objection? Hearing none, House Bill 681 is removed from the table. The senator from the 14th District is recognized to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a very simple bill. All this does is requires the Board of Education to adopt standards for a minimum course of instruction on financial literacy to be completed by students in the 11th or 12th grade. With that, Mr. President, I'll yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the bill? The chair hears none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there an objection to the adoption of the committee substitute? Hearing none, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea, opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. For what purpose does the senator from the 56th rise?
Parliament to inquire, Mr. President.
State your inquiry.
Don't you sound rather smooth up there? Like maybe you could do this more regularly?
I probably could do it more regular. Maybe I'm running for the wrong office. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 44 and the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Hey!
Chair recognizes the senator from the 32nd.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask for unanimous consent to set House Bill 1409 free from the table.
Set free? I like that. Ms. Secretary, please read the caption.
House Bill number 1409 by Representative Werkheiser of the 157th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 9 of Title 34 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to workers' compensation so as to change certain provisions related to workers' compensation benefits to increase the compensation benefits for total disability and temporal partial disability, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Insurance and Labor recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Burke of the 11th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 14th has moved, from the 32nd has moved that House Bill 1409 be set free from the table. Is there objection? The chair hears none and recognizes the senator from the 32nd to present the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill is about workers' comp benefits, and it increases the maximum allowable weekly benefit for an injured employee who suffers temporary total disability from $675 to $725 a week. Additionally, the benefit for temporary partial disability is increased from $450 to $483, and the maximum total compensation payable to a surviving spouse goes from $270,000 to $290,000. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
You don't appear to have any questions.
Thank you. I yield the will.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 1409? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none and the main question is ordered. Question on the passage of the bill. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 51, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Chair recognizes the senator from the 46th.
Thank you, Mr. President. After a long weekend of just a love fest with my idol, the senator from the 53rd, we are now basking in the afterglow, and I implore you to raise House Bill 1516 from the table, and long live rock and roll.
Mr. Secretary, will you please read the caption? And the amendment.
House Bill number 1516 by Representatives Gaines of the 117th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 10 of Article 7 of Chapter 3 of Title 12 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the Georgia Music Hall of Fame Authority and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Economic Development and Tourism recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Chairman. Mr. President, Amendment 1 by Representative Mullis of the 53rd and others. Amend House Bill 1516 by replacing lines 2 through 7 with the following: annotated relating to the Georgia Music Hall of Fame Authority so as to revise their corporate purposes and general powers and for other purposes. Mr. President, Amendment 2 by Senator Mullis of the 53rd and others. amend House Bill 1516 by replacing lines 48 through 62 with the following. The authority shall consist of 9 members. The chairperson of the Georgia Hall of Fame Overview Committee shall be a member and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
I want to know which one of you paid for dinner over the weekend. Senator Cap, okay. Senator from the 46th has asked for House Bill 516 to be taken off the table. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it's off the table. The chair now recognizes the senator from the 46th to speak to the measure and the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate. You remember we were here Friday discussing this bill. It's to move the Hall of Fame where we have a Music Hall of Fame. We have all these wonderful artifacts and memorabilia that's been stored for over a decade now in mothballs at the basement of the University of Georgia Special Collections Library. The City of Athens, the Classic Center, the convention center there, has agreed. They're building a new arena, have agreed to house this and display it. And at the same time, my dear friend from the 53rd has been working with the Grammys. They're going to build a museum here in Atlanta in the near future, and is also just an ideal place to be displaying some of this memorabilia. So he, through a friendly amendment now, has gutted the part of the bill that set up the authority to do that, because I didn't realize that the Grammys wanted to be engaged in this as well, and so we have broadened it from 5 members to 9 members, and there will be some geographic representation, 1 from Athens, 1 from Augusta, 1 from Macon, 1 from Savannah, a couple of appointees from the Lieutenant Governor, a couple from the Speaker, so we end up with 9 people on that commission, and they will agree, they will have control of the Hall of Fame artifacts and whatnot, and they can decide where it shall be displayed throughout the state. Both of the Grammys and the Classic Center are willing to do that, and they'll share this and rotate it around and let everybody have an opportunity to see all these great musical artifacts. I think that we will see that the senator from the 53rd will withdraw that First Amendment, and we have jointly proposed Amendment 2 that implements the agreed upon changes that we think is fair to all of Georgia. So everybody will have a chance to see this grand collection. Some will be there in Athens and some will be here in Atlanta, and we anticipate and envision that it will rotate, that they'll be moving around, and that could be other places in the state as well. So I'm happy to take any questions. I'll defer to the senator from the 53rd to speak to Amendment 2 as soon as I sit down. If there are no questions, I'll yield the well.
The senator from the 53rd has a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator. Isn't it true that I appreciate you working with me to make sure we have a little different perspective? So thank you.
Yeah, and it was my pleasure to work with you and to accommodate both of our desires and help the state of Georgia.
Senator from the 53rd is leaving this chamber a softer individual. You have no more questions.
Thank you. I ask you to favorably support the bill and the Amendment 2. If Amendment 1 isn't withdrawn, then we'll have a different story. That might be as much of a love fest as we enjoyed with each other this weekend.
For what purpose does the senator from the 53rd rise?
President, when it's time, I'd like to withdraw the First Amendment to this bill.
When the senator yields the well, we'll take that motion. Go ahead, just for fun, say it again.
Mr. President, if it pleases the chamber, I would like to remove the First Amendment to House Bill 1516.
So you're against the First Amendment? Amendment number 1, okay. The senator from the 53rd has asked for unanimous consent to withdraw amendment number 1. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and amendment number 1 is withdrawn. Any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? The chair sees none. Now we'll take up the adoption of amendment number 2. Is there objection to adoption of amendment number 2? The chair hears none, and amendment number 2 is adopted. Is there objection to agree to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill as amended. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 52, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed as amended. Chair recognizes the pro tem for a point of personal privilege. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your indulgence. The hour's getting late, but we've got a little more business to do. But before I go to my point of personal privilege, I'd like to recognize and thank the birthday girl, my wife, Teresa Miller. Oh, happy birthday. She is truly the love of my life and the wind beneath my wings. And I would like to recognize, and also, while I'm here, what I really came up for is to talk about a dear friend of mine, a dear friend of our community, and a dear friend of this building, Deb Bailey. Deb has been with Northeast Georgia Health Systems for many years, and she's retiring this year. And she has been an advocate, a huge advocate for nursing. Healthcare in general, nursing in particular. She started working at a nursing home at the age of 14. She later became an RN. She was Northeast Georgia Medical Center's psychiatric unit in 1974 and later became vice president of nursing. And she taught nursing at Brenau University. She has written grants. She has lobbied. She has been a champion for health care for many, many years, and she's dedicated to the leadership and the amazing clinical staff of friends and network that she has assembled over the years. She has often taken personal leave to travel on behalf of the healthcare industry, and in fact traveled to UAE and was the first female to speak to the parliament at the United Arab Emirates. And she also traveled to Brazil and Europe on behalf of nursing. And I would just like for this chamber to thank and recognize our good friend Deb Bailey for a career and for a life well lived, and we wish her happiness for many, many years. Deb, give her. Door, come to the door, come to the door. She's a no-show. Here she is. There you go. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the will.
Chair recognizes the majority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 19th and the 45th.
Without objection, the senators from the 19th and the 45th are excused. Chair now recognizes the senator from the 54th for a motion.
Yes, Mr. President. I move that the Senate adopt the conference committee report on House Bill 517.
Ms. Secretary, please read the caption.
Committees of Conference substitute to House Bill 517, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 2A of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to student scholarship organizations so as to provide for the inclusion of earned interest and the calculation of minimum revenue obligations for scholarships and tuition grants, to require that the student scholarship organization audits are conducted in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, to provide for the expansion of the scope of such audits and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 54th to speak to his motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, friends. It's getting late, I know. If you'll remember that last year, regarding the student scholarship organizations, we passed legislation last year, House Bill 517. In this body, we passed this out. What we'd gone from 58 million in tax credits to 120 million. We thought we were done with it last year. It went back over the House, and for some reason it never got through passed. It came back to us this year with now tax credit of 200 million. That's why we disagreed. We sent it to a conference committee. We've got that number back down to 120 million, the same as we passed last year, with the understand this is also to give those families in need more time to adjust. This one does not come with a sunset. So to help those families. But I move that we pass this and ask your support in passing this, because this does help a lot of families. 70% of those who benefit from this program are below poverty level. So this is literally to help those and get those kids out of suffering school, not just suffering schools, but also suffering situations. And a lot of those kids could be kids that have had disciplinary issues too, and they're in a position where they're in foster care or they don't have. And so I just ask you to support, because this really does help kids. Mr. President, if there's no questions, I'll yield the will.
You have no questions.
I ask for your favorable support.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 37th to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm all about helping kids, but it looks to me like this bill helps insurance companies more than it helps kids by taking up to $1 million a year away from the insurance premium tax. This not only hurts or helps the insurance companies, but it hurts our cities who derive funds from the insurance premium tax. There's several things about the student scholarship organizations that have concerned me. Part of it is that it continues to grow and grow and grow. If you'll remember, it was set in place, had $50 million cap on it. Then it had an annual growth on it that was tied to the growth of the state economy. Went to $53 million, then it went to $58 million after they'd asked for 65. Then 4 years ago, we approved $100 million. It was hung up for a while. When it came back this year, they asked for $200 million. It appears to me that we're feeding a pig that never wants to quit eating. And every year that goes by, the pig's eating more. As the bill was originally set up, when it went from $58 million to $100 million, it was going to 2028, and then it was going to go back to $58 million. Instead of it going back to 58, now we're proposing it to go to 120. I think this is bad policy. One of the problems I have with it is you cannot make a determination on who is accessing these credits. About 8 years ago, I tried to find out. At that time, they were getting $53 million in tax credits. We had one corporation that was pulling down $5 million of that $53 million. I think if you're going to access a tax credit, whoever's accessing these tax credit, it needs to be a matter of public record, and this bill does not provide for it. If we're going to do this, we need to have open transparency as to who it is that are accessing these funds and directing their tax liabilities to places that they want to put them. But it also troubles me that we're pulling the income premium tax away from our cities who are benefiting from that. And all this, anytime you move this money around, it's hurting someone. So I think we need to think strongly about this. I'm going to oppose the bill. I'm all for helping kids, but it doesn't look to me like that's what the basis of this bill is for. Mr. President, if there's no questions, I'll yield the wheel.
You don't appear to have any questions. Chair recognizes the senator from the 19th, this 18th, my eyes are going, to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know the hour is late, but this is an important measure. I want to thank the senator for presenting this bill. And I want to visit with you for just a minute about this program and why it's so good. And I respect the senator from Cobb's and his thoughts about this program, but I think, quite frankly, he's just a little off the mark on this one. This is a program that allows us, if you will, it is a voucher-like program. It allows contributions to be made to scholarship programs that then take children that are in desperate and difficult circumstances in schools and pull them from those and place them in situations on a one-on-one basis. This has been wildly successful. It's been very successful because of the stories, and if you take time and listen to the schools and listen to the programs and listen to the families of the children who have been plucked from the most difficult school circumstances that you can imagine and placed on paths forward. I had the opportunity this past summer to visit with one of the schools that has one of these programs. And there were parents of these children, and there were children there that talked about the different trajectory that it put their life on. It is absolutely life-changing. I know the comment was made by the senator that this pig just seemed to get we couldn't feed this pig enough. But I would tell you, this is a strange kind of pig, friends, because we don't feed this pig. This pig feeds us. Now, what do I mean by that? This pig feeds us because this program, for every child that goes through this program that gets a scholarship, saves the state of Georgia money. The money in the tax credits is less than what we spend on children in the public school system. So for every child that gets the benefit of this, for every family that is saved, for every child that has a future because they get taken out of the most difficult of circumstances, we actually save money. I think in simple terms, guys, that's what you call a win-win. The question was the concern of, well, who gets the credits? Well, let me tell you one statistic that we learned through looking through the process, and that is 70% of the children that benefit from this program come from median household incomes of less than $65,000. Did y'all hear me? Household income of $65,000 or less. This program is serving the poorest of Georgia's children and the poorest of Georgia's families and giving them hope, giving them a different trajectory on their life. I also disagree with the senator from Cobb with regard to the transparency. If you'll take a look on page 5 with me, looking at lines 100 through 104, you'll see increased transparencies. You'll see other references in the bill where there are increased transparencies. Not because there's been a problem or some misappropriation or some audit that was failed. And I'm all for additional transparency, especially when we're talking about credits or especially when we're talking about the use of taxpayer dollars. I'm all for that, and that's good. So I strongly urge your support for the conference committee report that has been signed by all 3 of the senators and all 3 of the House members that went through the process. Please give this opportunity a chance. Thank you. I yield the will.
Chair recognizes for what purpose the senator from the 6th rise? Oh, she waves. Who's the question? Chair recognizes the senator from the 42nd to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've been reading with interest an article from The Current about this particular program. And the central premise of it says an investigation by the current suggests that over the last 5 years, the law has fallen short on a key promise, serving the state's economically disadvantaged children. So setting aside at the outset the initial question of whether it's a good idea to shift tax revenues into private schools, especially in a state where we've only fully funded our basic funding formula a couple times in the last 20 years, and the fact that this bill with no sunset will cost our state $1.2 billion every 10 years, it has really not helped the neediest children at all. There's no requirement that the kids be, as the senator from the 18th said rather dramatically, in desperate or difficult schools. And between 2016 and 2019, only 16% of the scholarships went to the lowest 25% of earners in our state. This investigation showed that the tax credit favored children from middle class and wealthier families, and that state agencies failed to verify annual reports from the
Senator,
scholarship
if you could
fund.
please hold for a moment. I know there's a lot going on, and everybody wants to get your measure in front of the Senate and passed into law. But I can assure you our job is to pay attention to the senator and the well. If you have a conversation that must be had, leave the chamber. Otherwise, pay attention to the senator and the well. If we've got House reps on the edges of the wall, I can assure you that the Senate business is going to be what's taken up. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. State agencies failed to verify annual reports from the scholarship funds or provide oversight. One report that we do have, though, this statement from the Department of Audits and Accounts from last year says additional measures needed to improve transparency and accountability. That's from our state auditor, Mr. Greg Griffin. And that is because we've had very little reporting and oversight over this use of public money going into private schools. Basic data, such as which schools receive the scholarships, has not been available. And we also have found several cases of fraud. In one case, state officials allowed a man guilty of securities fraud to manage more than $700,000 in scholarship money. So that doesn't sound like a program that's particularly well run to me, when individuals guilty of securities fraud are managing $700,000 of our taxpayer money. I think we could do a lot better with this program. I really appreciate the work that's been done to add a little bit more transparency and oversight into it with this conference committee report. That's a good thing, but it falls far short, especially when we're talking about $1.2 billion in taxpayer money every 10 years. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the motion? The chair sees none. The senator from the 54th has moved that the Senate adopt the conference committee report on House Bill 517. All those in favor vote yea, opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the motion, the yeas are 28, the nays are 20, and the motion has been lost. For what purpose does the senator from the 51st rise?
Motion to reconsider House Bill 517.
That motion is in order. Chair would like to recognize the senator from the 51st to speak to the motion. He waves. Chair recognizes the senator. For what purpose the senator from the 18th rise? He waves. Does any senator wish to speak against the motion to reconsider? The chair sees none. All those that wish to reconsider the motion vote yea, opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. This is a vote for reconsideration. On the motion for reconsideration, the yeas are 30 and the nays are 20, and this Senate will reconsider the motion. Senator from the 54th has moved that the Senate adopt the conference committee report on House Bill 517. All those in favor vote yea, opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the motion, the yeas are 30, the nays are 21, and the Senate has adopted the conference committee report on House Bill 517. We're now going to take up a series of special actions. Ms. Secretary, can you please read the caption? Chair recognizes the senator from the 40th for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate agree to the House substitute to Senate Bill 610.
Ms. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
Senate Bill 610 by Senators Harrell of the 40th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 7 of Chapter 4 of Title 49 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to medical assistance generally so as to require that the Department of Community Health conduct a comprehensive review of older reimbursement rates for home and community-based services and for other purposes. Mr. President, the House offers the following amendment to Senate Bill 610. To amend Article 7 of Chapter 4 of Title 49 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to medical assistance generally so as to require the Department of Community Health to conduct a comprehensive review of provider reimbursement rates for home and community-based services and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 40th to speak to his motion. Her motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, Senate Bill 610 required that the Department of Community Health conduct on a regular basis provider rate studies. This ensures that direct service providers who take care of people with disabilities are paid at market rates. One change that the House made is we said these provider rate studies should be done every 3 years. The department asked for that on the House side to be every 4 years, so we did agree to that. In addition, a bill was added to this bill. It was House Bill 1404, which I'm in total agreement with. It requires that the Department of Community Health apply for a Medicaid waiver to allow psychiatric hospitals to accept Medicaid patients. This is really part of the mental health care reform that we've been working on this session, and that will free up more beds to get treatment to people who need it. Thank you, Mr. President.
You don't appear to have any questions. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the motion? The chair sees none. The senator from the 40th has moved that this Senate agree to the House substitute to Senate Bill 610. All those in favor vote yea, opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the motion, the yeas are 54, the nays are 0, and the Senate has agreed to the House substitute to Senate Bill 610. Chair recognizes the senator from the 10th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate disagree to the House substitute to Senate Bill 321.
Senator from the 10th is recognized to speak to his motion.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I apologize for the confusion, but Senate Bill 321 is a bill that I introduced last year. It only relates to DeKalb County. It is a local bill, and the House, in their deliberations, decided to take the bill that I introduced last year and add some language to that members of the delegation had disagreed to, which included a $21,000 actually $21,489 pay raise for the Stone Mountain Superior Court judges. This was legislation that was tied up, and this legislation was not passed, but they took a bill that I introduced last year and added this onto it. And Mr. President, that's why I disagree to the House substitute to Senate Bill 321.
You have no questions.
Thank you.
Would any other senator wish to speak for or against the motion? The senator from the 10th has asked for unanimous consent that the Senate disagree to the House substitute to Senate Bill 321. Is there objection? The chair hears none. For what purpose does the minority leader rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to agree to the
One
House.
moment. We're going to finish this special action. The senator from the 10th has asked for unanimous consent that the Senate disagree to the House substitute to Senate Bill 321. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and we have disagreed. Chair recognizes the senator from the 29th.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate agree to the House substitute for SB 505.
Ms. Secretary, please read the caption.
Senate Bill 505 by Senators Robertson of the 29th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Sections 35-8-23, 38-3-181, and 46-5-138.2 of the OCGA relating to basic training course for communications officers, definitions relative to Emergency Communications Authority, and Director defined and training and instruction, respectively, so as to require that 911 communications officers and for other purposes. Mr. President, the House offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 505 to amend Code Sections 35-8-23, 38-3-181, and 46-5-138.2, and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 29th to speak to the measure. The motion.
Colleagues, 505 is the bill we passed out of here that requires training for 911 dispatchers beyond the basic training to include telephonic CPR training. The only thing that was changed in the House is we moved the date out to January 1 of 2024. Please consider 505. It saves lives. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Senator has yielded the well. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the motion? The chair sees none. The senator from the 29th has moved that the Senate agrees to the House substitute to Senate Bill 505. All those in favor of the motion vote yea, opposed nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the motion, the yeas are 50, the nays are 0, and the Senate has agreed to the House substitute to Senate Bill 505. For what purpose does the senator from the 6th rise?
Mr. President, pursuant to Senate Rule 7-1.10, I move to agree to the House substitute to SB 276.
You're not recognized at this moment on that. We've got the order on the list. We'll get to you as soon as that's ready to call. Thank you. Chair recognizes the senator from the 54th.
Yes, Mr. President, I moved that the Senate agree to House substitute on Senate Bill 220.
Ms. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
Senate Bill 220 by Senators Payne of the 54th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 14 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to education accountability assessment programs so as to create the Georgia Commission on Civics Education and for other purposes. Mr. President, the House offers the following amendment. To amend Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to education so as to provide for a mandatory course of instruction in financial literacy for students in 11th or 12th grade and for other purposes. Mr. President, Senator Payne offers the following amendment. Amend the substitute to SB 220 by inserting after grade on line 4 to amend Article 2 of Chapter 14 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to education accountability assessment programs so as to create the Georgia Commission on Civics Education and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the distinguished senator from the 54th to speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is simply House Bill 681 that we just passed a few minutes ago, 44-0. The language was added to my Civics Commission bill that we passed out of this body last year overwhelmingly by a wide margin. I just asked for it. So it's literally two bills made into one that's passed out last year. They both passed this chamber, and I just asked for your support today. Mr. President, if there are questions, I'll yield the will.
You have no questions.
I ask for your favorable support.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? The chair sees none. The senator from the 54th has asked for this chamber to agree to Senate Bill 220. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. Secretary will unlock the machine. On the motion, the yeas are 48 and the nays are 4, and the Senate has agreed to Senate Bill 220. Chair recognizes the senator from the 10th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate agree to the House substitute to Senate Bill 10.
Ms. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
Senate Bill 10 by Senators Jones of the 10th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 11 of Title 16 of the OCGA relating to offenses against public order so as to provide for an offense for promoting illegal drag racing and laying drags, to provide for an offense and for other purposes. Mr. President, the House offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 10, to amend Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to crimes and offenses so as to provide for the offense of impersonating an officer of the court and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 10th to speak to the motion.
Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. You may recall Senate Bill 10 was the bill that was introduced last year that dealt with drag racing. The governor essentially took that language, wrapped it over into his bill, and we had a beautiful signing ceremony downstairs on the second floor. The current version of Senate Bill 10 includes language in it that simply states that you cannot impersonate an officer of the court, which means impersonate an attorney or a clerk of the court. Sorry, that's in Section 1. Section 2 adds to those definitions that placing a tracking device on the vehicle of another, or directing that someone place a tracking device on the vehicle of another if the owner of that vehicle is a protective order against the person doing the tracking. And Section 3 gives the judges discretion to remove a fine simply if a person simply missed a court date and they were fined. It gives them the ability to reinstate their license. And Mr. President, if there's no questions, I yield the well.
You don't appear to have any questions. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the motion? The chair sees none. The senator from the 10th has moved that the Senate agree to the House substitute to Senate Bill 10. All those in favor vote yea, opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the motion, the yeas are 50, the nays are 0, and the Senate has agreed to the House substitute to Senate Bill 10. Chair recognizes the senator from the 19th.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate insists on its disagreement to the House substitute to Senate Bill 374.
Ms. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
Senate Bill 374 by Senators Tillery of the 19th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 3 of Article 4 of Chapter 12 of Title 45 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Georgia Data Analytics Center so as to provide for definitions and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 19th has moved that the Senate insist on its disagreement to the House substitute to Senate Bill 374. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and we have insisted. Chair recognizes the senator from the 29th.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate insist on its disagreement to the House substitute to Senate Bill 516.
Mr. Secretary, please read the caption.
Senate Bill 516 by Senators Robertson of the 29th and others, A bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 2 of Chapter 8 of Title 12 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to general provisions of solid waste management so as to require the Environmental Protection Division to contract within the Department of Revenue and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Senator from the 29th has moved that the Senate insist on its disagreement to the House substitute to Senate Bill 516. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and we have insisted on our position. For what reason does the minority leader rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate suspend the rules to reconsider Senate Bill 321.
That motion will be recognized in a moment. This chair would like to take a point of personal privilege before we proceed with our business. If you'd please give me a moment. I'm going to try to do this without doing two things. One, using my glasses, and two, not crying. Make that in the form of a motion. Serving as the 12th Lieutenant Governor has been the honor of a lifetime for me and my family. Thank you. It is so hard to believe how much ground we have all traveled together over the last 4 years. It's hard to believe it's 4 years. We have traveled through a pandemic, a global pandemic. We have dealt with civil unrest just outside these windows while we're deliberating. We walked in here and had to deal with 10% budget cuts in a matter of days. And we lost two of our very own in the last 4 years. Senator Hill and Senator Kirk, and I will never forget the wisdom that Senator Hill imparted on me as a House rep, and certainly here as the presiding officer, and I'll never forget the time that some of us spent together flying down to see Senator Kirk in his last hours of life and praying with him and his family. We have debated some of the most divisive and complex issues over those same 4 years. We've talked about abortion, we've talked about guns, we've talked about education, we've talked about health care and crime, and yes, we've talked about elections also. These 4 years will go down as the most turbulent, tumultuous 4-year span in recent Georgia history. Right, wrong, or indifferent. We have dealt with a lot. But here is the bright light in the midst of that storm. This Senate chamber has gone through these turbulent times together. R's and D's have worked together. Rural folks have worked with metro folks. Folks from the north have worked with folks from the south. You name the divide, we have worked through it as a Senate. And I'm proud to stand here today and say that beyond a shadow of a doubt, that this Senate has restored civilized debate to this building. And for that, I am grateful. It feels like yesterday that I walked into that House chamber across the hall in 2013 as a wide-eyed freshman who knew absolutely nothing. I can assure you that no representative or senator has ever walked into this building knowing less about the legislative process than I did in 2013. And just a few short days into that tenure of being a wide-eyed freshman, I voted no on a bill, SB 24, and some of y'all remember that contentious debate. It was 8 days into our legislative session. I was one of just a handful of folks that voted no for what I felt like were good reasons. And that was the beginning of this experiment that I've had for almost the last 10 years of putting policy over politics. I didn't think the policy made sense. The politics did to vote yes on that, like you've heard from a number of senators. The politics made all the sense in the world for somebody walking in the door, but the policy didn't line up with what I promised the 26th district in Forsyth County, what I was going to vote for. I met a handful of like-minded reps that voted no. We all of a sudden became friends because we were the outcast. Two of those friends were Regina Quick and Mike Dudgeon. And we worked together through this process that we called finding intellectual honesty. And many of you get to feel that tailwind and headwind every day with our office. Intellectual honesty. Are you willing to be intellectually honest about something that you agree with or disagree with? Are you able to unpack the reality, the facts? Not the partisanness, not the things that help you get reelected, not the things that make you popular or get you something in the budget, but something that is honestly fair and balanced. I wrote 3 bills when I was in the House, right? I wasn't an active person in the well. I rarely went to the well, but I wrote 3 ideas. One was the Cargo Theft Act, one was Michael's Law, and one was the Rural Hospital Tax Credit. I got to tell you, I didn't get off to a very good start with the Senate. I brought those bills over. The Cargo Theft Act, I didn't realize that Terry Norris was good friends with the Lieutenant Governor's Chief of Staff, and my bill was getting held for something, and so I had to strip it out at the last minute. And then I ran into the senator from the 46 buzzsaw when I handed him off Michael's Law, and he gave me this great notion that he wanted to carry the bill. It was a great bill, and he heard all about this young rookie rep that was out to change the world, and so he asked to carry my bill, and I stood in the back, and he brought it up and presented it and took on a friendly amendment that essentially gutted the bill right in front of my eyes. But we worked together, and we worked through that divide. And then certainly we worked together with the Rural Hospital Tax Credit. And Senator from the 11th was a magnificent partner in that process as we really tried to identify the problem and the solution. Fast forward a few years in the House. I was there 5 years. I woke up and I just had this urge to either be in charge or go home. I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that if we could just put policy over politics on a bigger platform at the Capitol, we could make a difference. And this battle between the optimist and realist in my mind played out like it does every day, right? The kid that was sitting there in high school that was not the top recruit who wanted to play college baseball was the optimist versus the realist. And the optimist always seems to win. So when I wanted to put policy over politics, I decided the greatest place to do that in the Georgia Capitol is as lieutenant governor. And against all odds, me and my family spent almost 2 years traveling around trying to meet 11 million Georgians, visit 159 counties, and enjoying barbecue 9 times a day. Then the not-so-easy part began. We were fortunate enough to win, but I needed to convince an entire chamber, Democrats and Republicans, that policy over politics was the right way to navigate. That if you got the policy right, it made your politics easier. Now look, I never vividly remember my conversation with the Rules Chairman trying to explain to him this policy over politics format, and he had this glazed over look on his face. But I promised you that if we got the policy right, it would make your politics easier. I was told early and often from some of my closest friends and staffers that policy over politics was a great campaign slogan, but it was a terrible way to govern. I was told I was naive. I was told I was lazy because I wasn't willing to dream up Machiavellian ways to outflank everybody in the room or in the building. With all that in the rearview mirror, I'm proud to stand before you and report that this Senate chamber does put policy over politics, and it works. We are once again recognized as the upper chamber in this building. A majority of the power of this chamber is now been returned to the committee process. And last but not least, we all enjoy working with each other each and every day. It's been an honor to serve as the lieutenant governor, but more importantly, it's been an honor to work alongside some of the finest Georgians that our state has to offer. I want to thank the folks in my office that every day, look, I get it. If you put the politics over the policy, it makes your job a whole lot easier. Macy, you've done an incredible job. Thank you. Regina, if overtime was a thing, you'd be a billionaire. You're the hardest working person I know at the Capitol. James, Kennedy, Abby, Calvin, Emma, you guys have done an incredible job of gathering all of these moving parts and keeping them on time and building a relationship with the Senate that matters and that's long-lasting. Mr. Secretary, I want to thank you. It's been an honor to work alongside you. You have done an amazing job of of helping us be better every single day, being more prepared than anybody in this chamber to tackle your job. Jack and Sean, cannot thank you enough for every day. There's never been a stupid question that I've asked you that you haven't at least looked at me with a great answer. Your entire team is incredible. You're a role model for everybody in this building. You're so organized, you're so efficient, and you follow the rules, and that matters in this Senate chamber. Thank you. I want to thank the Republican caucus and the Democratic caucus. I want to thank former Minority Leader Steve Henson and the senator from the 53rd. Thank you for your friendship and your willingness to have conversation and debate. Our friends in the Republican caucus, thank you so much for working hard through all of these issues. I want to thank the members of COA. I told you guys this morning in our meeting at COA that is the highest functioning group I've ever been a part of. The discussion that we have every day in Committee on Assignments is genuine, and it's on behalf of 11 million Georgians. They would be proud of the discussion that we have every single day and the debate we have, and I want to thank everybody in COA. I want to thank the Senate Press Office, the Senate Budget Office, the Senate Research Office. Thank you for the tireless work that you put in. Constantly looking for new ideas, creative ideas, working with technology, working with a room full of people that aren't technology savvy. I want to thank my troopers. We have so much fun, but to think somebody would put their life on the line for you and your family means a lot. I want to thank our Sergeant at Arms and our doorkeepers. Thank you for being here on time every day, because on time matters. Last but not least, I want to thank my family. In 2011, I approached my wife, Brooke, with this crazy idea that I was going to run for office. And I promised her that I wouldn't disrupt our life or affect how we raised our 3 boys. And it hasn't. I love my family as much today as the day I signed up for this job, and I hope they love me just as much as they did before I did. In preparation for tonight's farewell address, I went back and looked at my acceptance speech at Georgia Tech when I got sworn in. Talked about leveraging technology all across Georgia and how it could guide us through the 21st century. Mission accomplished. We're working hard on technology. We've used technology to the advantage of 11 million Georgians in so many ways over the last 4 years. We are truly on our way to becoming the technology capital of the East Coast. I talked about leveraging the 4 C's, churches, charities, corporations, and citizens to solve some of the biggest problems that we have in our state. We're doing it. We increased the rural hospital tax credit because it's working. We've taken care of foster kids that are aging out through a tax credit program and using the community to help them. We now are going to spend $75 million worth of tax credits to make our law enforcement officers safer, better prepared for their day. We're leveraging the 4 C's. But most importantly, I talked specifically about how important my family was to me and how each one of them was a gift from God to me. My wife, Brooke, has allowed me to chase my dreams since I've been 17 years old. When I said I wanted to go to Georgia Tech to play baseball, that probably was the last school in the world she wanted to go to. But she went to Georgia Tech. And then when I came up with this crazy harebrained idea that I wanted to get drafted in the 69th round and make almost no money at all, you know what she did? She graduated early so she could get a job. When I started a business, we did it together. And when I decided to run for office, we did it together. She's never complained. She's never stepped in front of my dreams. And for that, she's a gift from God. Parker, my oldest, I mentioned he was the greatest role model a dad could ever ask for two younger sons. He still is. He's a gift from God. My 16-year-old son, I said, has a heart of a lion. And he does. He is so physically and mentally strong. And I'll never forget when it got so tough, when a president is beating down on your door. He reminded me of our family saying, "Doing the right thing will never be the wrong thing, Dad." And Ryder, he's more famous than any of us. He literally has the ability to change the direction of a person's day just by walking in the room. You bring a lot of joy to our family. I love every one of you more than you will ever know, and I believe now more than ever that all four of you are a gift from God. In closing, the last 4 years have also been a gift from God. Some days are harder than others to see that gift. Like when a sitting president is attacking you and your family. Or somebody's cussing you or your family out at a grocery store. I believe now more than ever, the divide between effective campaigning and effective governing is wider than it's ever been. I believe now more than ever that working across the aisle is where real solutions will be found. I believe now more than ever what Ronald Reagan said. If you're with me 80% of the time, you're a friend and an ally, not a 20% traitor. I believe now more than ever that this country has a vacuum of leadership of epic proportion. And last but not least, I believe now more than ever that doing the right thing will never be the wrong thing. May God bless every one of you, and I look forward to spending years as friends.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, folks in the gallery, Governor Duncan, and your family, I reflect on nearly 4 years ago when we were in this room and the proceedings called that I would present to you the gavel of this chamber. And you've carried that gavel with honor and with dignity and with integrity, and with intellect, and with courage. And for that, we are all very grateful. And as Secretary of Senate would read in our resolutions, it is enormously appropriate that at this time we present to you your gavel for your keeping and your hammer pad that you will take home. And we wish you Godspeed and much success. God bless you. Thank you. Just one more thing. Get out of my way. At the appropriate time, we will have the gavel and the hammer plate engraved, suitable for your keeping in your home and at the appropriate place. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
With that, we're going to stand at ease for 10 minutes. We're going to stand at ease for 10 minutes.